Sunday, 4th of July. I'm going to start with Jaya Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. 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 Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Raja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Raja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vana Chari. Jamuna Tira Vana Chari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Raja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Raja Jana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'm going to read today from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, and it is text number text number 16. Hare Krishna. This is entitled the nature, the enjoyer, and consciousness. It is a specific section in the Bhagavad Gita where a couple of things happen. Krishna actually, he really tells us who he is. He tells us what his potencies are, and he also lets us know that he knows everything. So that we can become safe. We can become protected by Krishna. Because no one could know the same type of things as Krishna does. We can see the limitations of our own ability to try to understand things beyond our senses. So the person who's talking, he knows all of that, and he knows the whole purpose of it. And I haven't heard anybody speaking in my whole life which makes more sense and ties the whole thing together so completely. So who's ever speaking Bhagavad Gita is hugely knowledgeable, and if I'm accepting it, which I am, then I can actually feel a great sense of protection from the heart, like from an intuitive point of view. I mean, intellectually, it's all there. No one could know the same type of things that has been explained in Bhagavad Gita. It's not possible. No one could speak on that with so many levels. Krishna is speaking on so many levels. So when I hear all of this, I haven't heard anyone else anywhere else speak in this way. I've heard people in the scientific community speculate about reality, and then I look out my window and I see the place is full of smog. If I hear about the pollution in the planet, I hear about everything being destroyed, basically, in the name of people who are telling me they know things. So therefore I cannot accept it. I cannot accept what they're saying, because the result of what they're saying is just a catastrophe. So therefore Krishna explains it much more clearly what is actually happening. So it's a much more logical route to accept what Krishna is saying. So just to take a certain part here, actually I wrote down a verse. Verses 16, and I'll read it in Sanskrit. Bahir antas chabhutanam achanam charam evacha shakshamat vat tadavigyesham durashtam chantike chatvat. And the translation of that is: the supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non-moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. I'll read what Prabhupada says in the purport. It's my great Srila Prabhupada ki. In Vedic literature, we understand that Narayan, the Supreme Person, is residing both outside and inside of every living entity. He is present in both the spiritual and material worlds. Although he is far, far away, still he is near to us. These are the statements of the Vedic literature. Asino duram vajanti sayano yad. That's in the Katana Upanishad 1.2.21. And because he is always engaged in transcendental bliss, we cannot understand how he is enjoying his full opulence. We cannot see or understand with these material senses. Therefore, in the Vedic language, it is said that to understand him, our material mind and senses cannot act. But one who has purified his mind and senses by practicing Krishna consciousness in devotional service can see him constantly. So that is that's the main facet of Krishna consciousness. It's just kind of there in a nutshell. Our ability to understand with our normal senses, it just doesn't work. It doesn't. We don't have the capacity in our current state. But if we perform this mystical activity, magical activity, but at the same time very practical activity, which is called devotional service, then we can purify our mind and senses, and then we can see Krishna. I was just talking today to an old friend of mine, which I haven't seen for 40 years, maybe more, 40 years. I haven't seen the person. We were chatting away about old times and what we used to do when we were younger and all of this. And before I came to Krishna consciousness, there's many things I did, and they were done with my mind and senses, thinking that I knew everything, and I had a good handle on the way the world was. And it wasn't until I kind of ran into a kind of a brick wall with my mind and senses that I realized that I didn't know very much, and I was in a very, I don't know, I could call it unfortunate position of having utilized 20 or so years of my life, and I never came to any real conclusion, and I wasn't satisfied, or I wasn't happy. Then I did take the spiritual life. I realized that the previous years were actually formative years in my spiritual development, but at the time I didn't understand it. And it got me to understand that by practicing, devotional service, dahyamāne yavanyas chaste tatvataha. That's in the 18th chapter, 54th verse. Krishna says, one can understand me as I am only through devotional service. Brahmabhuta prasanatma. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman. He becomes fully joyful and never laments or desires to have everything. Krishna says, one can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So, from the first 20 years of my life, trying to understand anything, I was totally limited because I had my material mind, my material senses as well. Hare Krishna, thank you. Hare Bol. So I'm zapped, I can say something proper now. Thank you. Yeah, because just at that time, I was thinking, I was in the illusion that I actually knew everything, or I knew things as they were. That's why I was acting out my life, because I thought I was making the right decisions. I thought I could understand things by going in this way. I remember even one time when I was younger, I was just in my teens, and I was saying things like, there's no God, I was saying it on the top of the class, in the religion, there isn't any God, If that person then could see me now, they'd be looking at a different person altogether. They'd be shocked. Huh? What happened? But hi. So that's the nature of the power of devotional service, because now, well, it was even in my 20s then I started to practice devotional service, so then I could understand that this actually was working. And the more that you practice it, the more that it actually becomes clear. The senses become purified. That's what Prabhupada is saying in this purport. He says, we cannot see or understand with these material senses. Therefore, in the Vedic language, it is said that to understand Him, that's God, our material mind and senses cannot act. But one who has purified his mind and senses by practicing Krishna consciousness in devotional service can see Him constantly. constantly see God. That's a big claim. Yeah. And even in spiritual life, and actually in the culture that's in spiritual culture, there are temples where one can go and see God. Before, in my 20s, I started to go to churches, Catholic Christian churches, and I would spend time in there just meditating while I was in there. And there was some forms of God in there, or saints. There would be saints there that would have forms. So you would be praying to the saints and things like that. And so now we have temples, and we're establishing temples. That's one of the things which we do, so people can actually come to temples and actually meditate and to see God, because God consents to appear at that time. So this is a pretty amazing claim, isn't it? I mean, there's the whole science world, and they say, well, I can't measure God. Where is he? He's not here. I put on my graph or put on my screen. No, he's not here. I can't see him. No, he's not here. But Krishna, or God, he transcends all the ability of the material senses to see or to know. He transcends it. So how do we know? Because we only have material mind and material senses. And by performing devotional service, we understand we're not the material mind, or we're not the material senses. We actually get to understand that. But we understand it by purification of the material mind and material senses, because although the material mind and material senses are material, they also have the quality to become transcendental, because God has made them as well. He has made the material mind and sense, and he made them in such a way to observe. Now, he's made them in such a way that people can actually think that they'll understand everything by their material mind and senses, but they don't. So there is a great illusion there, that people will think that they can understand things by the material mind and senses. So it's an incredible system that Krishna has set up. He set it up so that it can work both ways. Sometimes Prabhupada would give an example of the electricity. You can have heat or you can have cold. It's the same electricity which makes the heat and the cold. So powerful, it's a good example. So Krishna has done the material body in that way as well, that you can understand him, or you can be completely covered. So in that way, he's appeared in a physical form in the churches, or in the mosques, or in the temples. He's appeared in that way as well, in the material way. But then he goes and explains about it in the Bhagavad Gita and the Śrimad-Bhagavatam. It's not as if where is he? I can't see him. I believe he's there, but I don't know. No, he actually clearly explains it in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. So then, through the process of Shabda Brahma, or by hearing, we can actually see through the ears. Krishna gives us that ability to understand. But let's just go back to that very important verse, 1855 it was. I said 54, it was 1855. One can understand me as I am, as a supreme personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. What an absolute promise that's there. And as I said, I haven't seen anywhere else where that type of total understanding of the cosmos and of beyond the cosmos. I haven't seen it anywhere where it is spoken with such clarity, and in such simple terms, and how to actually to lead there. A lot of people, actually, when I read Bhagavad Gita at the beginning, I went through it. I knew it was something good, but I didn't understand it. I just went through the whole book, and I just knew that this is good, but I don't really know what it is. I had read the Penguin edition while I was in college, and it was no purport by Prabhupada. But I did read it, and I found it good as well. I found there was something in it too. So it was resonating with me then. But eventually then, I started to understand it, and over many years of reading it. So So therefore this language then becomes very simple. It's very simple language that one can understand me as I am only by devotional service, and when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So who wants to enter into the kingdom of God? You know? So that's an incredible proposition. So what's stopping us from entering into the kingdom of God?
We have to do more of devotional service.
We have to do more of devotional service. You have to become deeper, yeah.
Deeper, and we have to enhance our love for God.
We have to, what you say?
Increase
our love of God, yeah.
Increase
Yeah.
our love of God.
Yeah.
Because in Bhagavad Gita I read, like, God is inconceivable. Like, we can't imagine
God
with
is inconceivable,
with our
yeah.
senses that there is another sky, there is so many other things over there.
Yeah. Yes.
Things like that, and then we are still exploring everything.
We're still exploring.
Our senses we can't.
Our senses we can't understand. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we have to follow the scriptures.
We have to follow the scriptures, yeah. What the Acharyas say, yeah.
Like I personally feel like devotional service really help you.
Devotional service will really help you, yeah.
And getting more love, and you will attach yourself.
And getting more love, yeah. And you'll attach yourself, yeah.
You attach yourself to the garden.
Yeah.
And detach from the world. It's like a simultaneous process. Like, one way you are attaching to God, and then simultaneously
So
you are
simultaneous. One way attaching to God, and one way detaching from the world. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So does that mean that we live in a house away from everybody and don't go out?
No,
Because
we go out, but like we don't like being attached to something.
So, yeah, being
we
attached
like
to something.
We are more at par. That things will happen. We know that things will happen. We'll go good or go bad.
Okay, so you're saying that we know it'll go good sometimes and sometimes it'll go bad. So what do you do when it goes bad?
We'll go to God. If still it goes good, we'll go to God.
We'll still go to God anyway. Yeah.
Anyway, it's like
Right. Yeah. We'll pick ourselves back up again.
yeah.
Okay, that didn't go so good this time. Now I'm going to start again. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, that's good. Yeah, so that was the question. What are the things which are keeping us away from God, you know, basically, from understanding God? That was the question. You've answered it quite well there. Yeah, anything else?
Like, which are the things which are, like, we always have to follow the instructions which are in the scriptures.
What you said, you have to follow the instructions which are in the scriptures. Now, why would you follow those instructions that are in the scriptures?
Because they will make us, they will, by the process of following the scriptures, we will make our senses more purified.
But by following the scriptures, we'll make our senses more purified.
More purified, and then we will follow all these.
How do you know that? How do you know they'll make you purified? Why do you accept it?
Because I experience it.
Yes.
I have a point to add on that. One who follows, maybe who will try to read the scripture.
One who reads the scripture?
Yeah, is already on a path of something.
Is already on the path of something.
In terms of this
spiritual knowledge.
Yeah. So there might be no way back, but he's already taking steps towards.
He's taking the steps, yeah. So yeah, we find that actually when you, as Krishna says here in 1855, when one is in full, he says, one can understand me as I am, as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. Only. Just only is the word. You can't do it any other way. Devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So one of the answers I was going to say was that it's similar to what you were saying, and which I was saying earlier, that nobody else can speak like this. You know, because I've looked at many literatures, many books, many religions, and so on. But this kind of work, I mean, you'll find it in other spiritual systems, definitely in different degrees. But the absolute understanding of the way things are and the way it's presented, no one but God could actually know it that way. Do you know? And the path that is leading us out of the material world to the spiritual world is very clearly defined and how to actually do it, and how to get it. So that's why the path is. That's why we accept the words as well. And it's like what you said about you experience it. You know, it works. Therefore, if something works, I'm going to keep on doing it because it's working. Yeah. So that's why the whole gradually aspect of spiritual life is very important. Okay, I'm going to continue on a bit in the purport. Prabhupada says, it is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita that the devotee who has developed love for the Supreme God can see Him always without cessation. There's a famous verse in the Brahma Samhita. Premanjana churita bhakta vinodchalenam santak vidayoshi vilokayante yakshama sundram achinta gunasvarupam Govinda purusham tamaham bhajami. The basis of what that is saying, my Sanskrit wasn't great, but is that if one's eyes are anointed with the pulp of love, then one can actually see God everywhere. Krishna says, for one who sees me everywhere, or sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. So therefore, or another one is that Hare Krishna, it's still going on there. I'm recording this class as well. Brahmana shuni cheva svapakacha pandita samatarshana. It means that the sage, by virtue of knowledge, can see the humble and gentle Brahman. He can see the cow, the dog eater, all with an equal mind. So it's all to do with vision, basically. You know, what we're seeing. You know, although I had said earlier, it's hearing is also is a seeing. But our vision changes when we have love. When we have love for somebody, like a mother has love for her child, father has love for the child. You know, there may be. It's even they have this thing about even in animals that the calves are separated from the cows, but then immediately when the separation is stopped, the calf goes all the way to the mother. You know, no matter what, it just always finds the way, even if there's hundreds of different cows there. So that's because of the love that's there and the reciprocation. So the same thing, that love that's there originally is there with us with God. That's what bhakti means. You know, bhakti yoga, loving God, and it's a reciprocal thing. And even though God has set up many tests in this world for us to go through, the reason for those tests is to make us stronger to want to go back to God. He's given us the tests specifically. When we enter into bhakti yoga, we get specific tests to make us more closer to God. Sometimes you might say, oh, why did you do this, God? It's so difficult. You know, why are you doing this to me? But it's so that He wants to get us back even quicker. And we should never doubt that even if something is difficult for us, that God is not there. He is there.
He's always.
Yeah, and He's just trying to coax us along. Now, we can get there is a certain amount of element of, you know, of punishment, you could say. God also, because we break the laws of karma. But Krishna can do that and correct us as well simultaneously. And sometimes the devotee's correction might be even more severe. So be careful on the path. It can be more severe because it's just like a police person. A person is representing themselves as the police. If he commits a crime, then it's considered worse than a normal citizen because he's meant to be an upholder of the law. So there has to be some level of, you know, of care there as well. But we get this love that's there by associating with devotees who also have that love, you know. And that is kind of a specific characteristic of bhakti, which is not necessarily there, I've seen, in a lot of spiritual systems, or it's not emphasized as much as in bhakti yoga. In that dadami buddhi yogam tvam, Krishna says, I will give the intelligence by which they can come to me, or tadvidi prani patinam pariprashnena sevayam upagada vekṣyati teganam gyaninas tattvadarshana. One can attain the knowledge by approaching a spiritual master, self-realized, by offering to service and inquiring. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen. Right now I have my phone taking the class, but I'm getting these phone calls. And I know what that one is about as well. So that the self-realized soul can give knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. And this is the real beauty of spiritual life as well, because Krishna, dadami buddhi yogam tvam, he gives the knowledge to the great saints and sages in that sense, and our spiritual masters, spiritual guides, and then they can actually reveal the pure knowledge. And that's the whole point of parampara. I was listening to a very interesting talk there recently, and it was explaining how the parampara, the varnashram system, the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, we all have kind of tendencies, and we have a particular status in life that we do. We're a man, we're a woman, we have particular duties in relation, we have different tendencies. One might tend to be more of a manager, one may be more of a worker, one may be more of a Brahminical or whatever, and we have certain things to do within those. But and then we have the modes of nature, the modes of goodness, passion and ignorance, and our idea is that we should try to elevate ourselves to the mode of goodness in that sense. But there's a danger even in the mode of goodness of staying on the mode of goodness, because it's in the material world. Now, Krishna has created the material world, so therefore, if you're in the material world, okay, so Krishna's made it, so there is some attraction there as well, even there's an attraction for Krishna. But and then we find some very sattvic people who can talk about the world in a very but they say there's no God or something like that, or that they might even come up with something that we're all God, they may come up with this kind of, which is completely the last snare of Maya, of being trapped here, But it's not that so often that you get somebody who's outside the material world, which is our whole parampara system, of the cyclic succession coming from Krishna. And that's why Prabhupada was so strong about Bhagavad Gita as it is, that there's no change. You're not changing anything. The information is there, and the ability to love Krishna is passed from guru to disciple, from guru to disciple. So the methodology of actually surrendering to God is actually kept intact, so that it can go down through the centuries, and that also so that it can be given to people. Because Krishna is, so in other words, he's giving a message in the material world which is spiritual, and he's using the material world to give the spiritual message. So there's a lot of potency where it could go wrong there, If somebody is, for instance, in the material world and has an anartha, he wants to be worshipped, he wants to be God. So he could be given Bhagavad Gita and telling people, but just surrender unto me, he might say. And then people, because there's some kind of truth in there that you have to surrender to a person, they'll do that, and then they'll be misled. So Krishna really wants us to perform pure devotional service. So therefore, he's empowering his devotees, and he's empowering this parampara to give this message which is beyond the material world. So that's why he says things like, although far, far away, he is also near to all. There's this seeming paradox which is there, And so he's using that type of language. And then he says that, if you're with loving Krishna, then you can see Krishna. And it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 11:54 that he can be seen and understood only by devotional service, bhaktya, tvananya, shaktya. So Now next, in the next verse, I'm going to read the English of it. That's Prabhupada's purport, so powerful. And all of these have got purports to them, and I might not take from it because there's only a certain time limit. Although the Supersoul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all. Okay, I want to take the first two sentences there. Although the Supersoul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. Could anybody explain that to me? Okay, first of all, who is the Supersoul? Krishna, yeah. And what particular form does he have?
No form.
No, he has a form. Yeah.
His form.
Yeah.
Two-handed in the flute.
Yeah.
Bluish.
Okay, probably we should be better to say where does he locate himself? Where is he located?
Golok.
That's his transcendental form. But as the super soul, where is he located?
Within our heart.
In our heart, exactly, and in every atom as well. But he's in our heart, so he's there. So is he in your heart? Is he in my heart?
Yes.
Is he in your heart? Slavni's heart,
Yes.
Sanjay's heart. You know, is he? He is. So is he a different super soul in everybody's heart? No.
Yes.
He's undivided. He's the super soul. He's in. So this is part of his transcendental ability. Do you know? So. And who else is there with him in everybody's heart?
Us.
Yeah.
We.
Yeah.
The soul.
Me. And am I in there as well? No, I don't have that ability, but Krishna has that ability. So therefore, are we connected?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're connected because Krishna, the same God is there with you, same with me, same with Solomon, same with everybody, you know, same with every insect, same with every fly, same, you know. So therefore, if that's the case, then why is there all this division? Why is there so much division? I'm from this country, that country, I'm from this religion, that religion, I'm a man, I'm a woman, you know. Why is it there?
Because somebody misled.
Yes, or as that verse is the one who sees with equal vision, a learned and gentle Brahmin, a cow, a dog, an elephant, a dog and a dog eater. He sees with equal vision. Do you know? See, this is the seeing. Do you know what I mean? This is the seeing that we're trying to develop, and I think this is very, very important actually. We have to practice it. Now, I was thinking to myself this morning. I took a little pause there when I said that, and the reason I did is because I thought about myself this morning, something which wrecked my vision actually, you know, and my neighbour has been parking his car in my spot for the last while without asking, you know, and it's a person I don't know that well. They live a little bit around, but they just park outside our spot, and when I'm thinking, why does that person do that, you know? And in my mind, I was confronting that person, you know? And then I thought to myself, why are you doing this? What is this about, you know? And this is kind of like an anger which can prevent me seeing, do you know?
Yeah.
Do you know? And it's like I was thinking about Krishna says so many times in the Bhagavad Gita. Does Krishna say tolerance, you know? Now, it's not to say that you should tolerate if somebody is mistreating you. We shouldn't do that type of tolerance. We shouldn't understand. But in general, okay, he's parking. Okay, I can live with that for the rest of my life. That's not going to kill me, you know? In fact, it would be a good practice to say, well, there he goes again. He's obviously not really, he's not conscious that in this situation. So, well, maybe this is just the way he is. He's a nice person otherwise. Not that he's taken my spot again. Does he not understand, you know? So that's an example of, you know, our vision suddenly being completely covered. So, does anybody here have an example like that, or has this ever happened to anybody else, or is it only me? No, it happens, isn't it? And but this is the vision that Krishna seems to want us to get to, and because that is the vision in the mode of goodness. There's a verse. I mean, I probably won't happen upon it now, but it's in the 18th chapter. I think it's about 20 or 30. And it talks all about the mode of goodness anyway. And actually, I'd like to just kind of say it because that knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness. So that means you see everybody as your brother, your sister, or whatever. That's the vision. So this is spiritual vision. This is the mode of goodness. Now the other next one is that knowledge by which one sees in every different body a different type of living entity. You should understand to be in the mode of passion. He's Irish, he's English, he's French, he's Spanish, he's a nice person. He's not, you're seeing this division all the time. This is in the mode of passion. So that's when you see, like my neighbor, he's taking my spot. It's like, who's he? What is he doing? It's an interesting dynamic which is at work. And then that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all, without knowledge of the truth, which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness. Now, I haven't really understood that particular verse. It will take me a little while to understand. That's not to say that I have experienced the mode of ignorance. I have, but it's a little more difficult to understand. But I'll tell you where that leads in the different types of religion. O son of Partha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, that is in the mode of goodness. Because in that way we can lead our lives by, we're alert to what's happening next. Something might happen in our life. We say, now, is this going to bind me or not? What is this now? If it's in the mode of goodness, we can know if it's going to bind us. If it's not, it says, O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action which should be done and action which should not be done, is in the mode of passion. So you can see the way passion is it's very destructive. So Krishna is giving us all this, this knowledge to see things so that we don't get entangled, so that we can go back to Godhead, so we can perform devotional service and become beyond the modes of nature. And then that understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion, under the spell of illusion and darkness, after many of those pints of Guinness. And always, see, Krishna knew about Guinness, you see, he says, under the spell of illusion and darkness, anyway, I want to joke, and strives always in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance. So he's always going in the wrong direction. He wants to do the right thing, but he's going in the wrong direction. And what I'm saying is this, that these are the modes of nature, how they bind us. And so we're in the material world. So Krishna's giving us intelligence to see where we can work, where we can do things, how we can continually refine our consciousness, because that's what we're trying to do. We're through more experience, we know, okay, I won't do that anymore. Oh, that's binding. Oh, I can see, even through experience, and we regulate our action. And that's also an important point as well, because that's one other way which we can actually see properly, through regulation. We can't see through. See, people say they go to college to get knowledge, and they write out their exams, they become an expert in something, but they go and they behave like a debauch, you know, and they have the PhD, whatever, but they're a debauch, you know. So what's that? Because it's not knowledge, it's not actual knowledge, because Krishna says here through regulation, you know, getting up early, chanting Hare Krishna, following the 4 regular principles, no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. This is knowledge. You know, this is knowledge by which you can see. This allows you to see, because you can't see if you're under the spell or under the, you know, the dictate of the material modes of nature. But we're, you know, as we said at the start, gradually, you know, we may not see God now, but we're through the practice, the regulative principles of freedom, that then we can start to see God more and more, which is a great facility. So, getting back to the point that we were saying at the start, the reason that we accept Bhagavad Gita is because no one else but God could say these things. So listen to what he's saying here. This is interesting, verse 18. He is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. So if everybody closes their eyes for the moment and even puts their hands to their eyes like this, so there's darkness, right? You can just see darkness. So Krishna is beyond that darkness, do you know? He's beyond that darkness, you know? So this is the Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. This is the power, the luminousness of light, so we can see, because there's luminosity here. But there's also beyond darkness, Krishna is there. So this is more of his explanations. He is knowledge, he is the object of knowledge, and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. Thus the field of activities, knowledge, and have been described by me. So now I want to get into the next. I'll skip a few verses there. You can read them yourself. But in 23, yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the supersoul. So this is just clear knowledge coming from Krishna, you know, that this is, it's not just us. It's not just us. There's 5 factors which lead to action, and you know, the super soul is one, the place, the endeavor, I can't remember the other 2. The which? The endeavor, the super soul, the place, the time, yeah. That's pretty good anyway. At least we know it's, you know, it's not just us, you know. But there's all these aspects which are there. So this is to let us know, and this is to help us meditate, that we're not just here on our own. We have to see Krishna as well. We see the super soul that's there. And we could spend our whole life just because this is what all these verses in Bhagavad Gita are about, is to see the super soul there as well as Krishna, as well as the normal, as well as the soul. And then Krishna says in the next verse, one who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature, is sure to attain liberation. So let's those things again. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the material modes of nature, is sure to obtain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. Now, there's Krishna saying that. You know, so that's why it's important for us to study these things as much as we can, because therefore we won't take birth here again. And then he talks about the super soul again. Some perceive the supersoul within themselves through meditation, others through cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without fruit of desires. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme upon hearing him from others. And then let's go on a little bit. One who sees, here's the one. This is here in Bhagavad Gita, just to make sure we know that this is one who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, actually sees. So that's just an incredible Krishna. That's what he wants us to do. He wants us to see that way, to see the soul and the super soul in all bodies. And one who sees the super soul equally present everywhere in every living being does not degrade himself by the mind. Do you know? He does not degrade himself by the mind. If he sees that, you know, how is this? Krishna is so incredible. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination. It's all one step after another. He's just kind of laying it out. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. So he can see that the self does nothing, then he actually sees. You know, so we understand that the soul then is beyond matter. So he's not gnibhir nyasi shudra keni lai e Krishna tattva se guru. Lord Chaitanya says, I am not a Brahmin, I'm not a Shudra, I'm not a sannyasi, but I'm the servant of the servant of the servant. So all of this, the information that's just there in the material world, we're in the material world. We're in the material world, okay? So therefore we're kind of conditioned in a sense to thinking in a certain way. But Krishna is using the material world to tell us the messages of beyond the material world, or the spiritual world. And that's who we are as well. We are beyond the material world. So in this chapter, Krishna is helping us gain that vision so that we will understand that. Haribol. You know, so that we will actually understand that. Okay. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, now this is real proper vision. And of course, this is the vision of, I'm going to say, of Bharat Farish, you know, and this is the vision that is being shared from this philosophy from India to the world. This is why Prabhupada came. He wanted to give this vision. He wanted to stop all the suffering that's going on in the name of, you know, identification with the body. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how bodies are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. And I'm just going to read the last 3 verses and I'll stop. The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all-pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body, though situated in that body. So that's just an example of the sky doesn't mix with anything. The sky is there, do you know? So, and it is all-pervading. So similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body. So the soul and the body doesn't mix. So this is what Krishna is trying to get to, you know. The body is there, you know, and it is, but the soul isn't really, it doesn't mix with it. So what is that? That's an incredible creation of Krishna. That we're soul, they're not the body. The body's just kind of temporary covering the soul. But it just vanishes, and then we previous class we had here, we were explaining about how the soul is brought to the next body by the subtle body. Yeah. So we're not the subtle body either. So it's a tricky thing. But this is what we're actually. This is what we're going to get at the end of this. We're going to actually see this. We're going to be this. We're going to be who we are. You know, which is incredible. He does not mix with the body, though situated in the body. O son of Bharat, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so the living entity, one within the body, and illuminates the entire body by. So this is the example is given. The sun illuminates the entire universe. So the living entity within the body illuminates the entire body by. No, by consciousness. Yes, that's the symptom of the soul. By consciousness. Do you know? Because, for instance, we cannot make our heart beat. You know, we cannot even take the next breath. That's how completely dependent we are. But our consciousness is there, and that's another gift of God. But that's who we are, you know. And it's just here. Consciousness is here. So the last verse, those who see with eyes of knowledge the difference between the body and the knower of the body, and can also understand the process of liberation from bondage in material nature. So what is the process?
God liberated from the bondage, material nature.
What is the process?
Chanting.
To bhakti yoga, devotional service. That's the process. So one who can do that,
You will be liberated in the material world as well.
from the Jivan Mukta Sahoṭaje, liberated even in the world, but it says he can attain to the supreme goal. So who else could give us that kind of assurance? Only Krishna can give you that. So that's one of the reasons that this is why I accept this philosophy completely, because no one else could speak like that. They couldn't give you those assurances. Only somebody who's in control or in charge of everything can tell you this. Can have this completely incredible system worked out. Like even the as I said, I was listening to this amazing class today. There's a philosopher called Carl Gustav Jung, and he talked about the collective unconscious, and he talked about archetypes. And Prabhupada, one time some of the devotees were telling him about this philosophy of Jung, and Prabhupada said he gave him some credit. Like he listened to a lot of the philosophers, Plato, Aristotle. He thought Plato was specific. He gave some credit to. A lot of the philosophers he wasn't giving so much credit to, but Jung he did. He gave a certain amount of credit to. But his credit was that he was able to talk about the the unmanifest, which is like the collective unconscious, the unmanifest, and it resembles the Vedic understanding, because at the end of each cycle everything revolves back into itself again and then comes out again. So how do people know how to act? Because there's a collective unconscious of how to act, because Krishna has set that into. I'm sure this is still going on. It seems as if it's still recording anyway. But so he was. There was one of the devotees today, one of the Maharajas. He was considering the similarities between the whole cyclical descriptions of the world from the Vedic perspective, and how he was marrying it into the Western understanding, and how they were grasping at this knowledge, and they were talking about things like collective unconsciousness and archetypes, and where do they come from, because they were trying to understand reality. But he was showing this is where it's coming from, from the Vedas is giving this understanding, and it's quite incredible. This information is there for every living entity. Is there, can take to this philosophy. But the beauty of Krishna consciousness is that it's a very simple process, just by performing devotional service, and by what you were saying there, by chanting. The chanting is so powerful that what it is doing, it is actually chaito-darpana marjanam. It is purifying, it's clearing all the, I call it gunk, that has been there for millions of lives. This has happened from the HSE. All those files were hacked. So this 085 numbers come up all the time. Those 3 already in an hour now. They're all different numbers, and so there's no reason to contact me any of them because I don't know them. But this is what you answer them, and this is what happens. So we can see how the mode of ignorance and passion is trying to get in there, trying to get some money. Fruit of, I want some money. Where can I get it? I want to cheat somehow or the other. Hare Krishna. So, this is it's trying to destroy the class, basically. But the point I was getting there at the end about the collective unconscious, by chanting, how that this is the most powerful weapon imaginable, is Krishna has incarnated as his name, and we just keep on chanting Krishna's name, and constantly then our heart has been purified. But not only that, we develop attachment for Krishna's name, and Krishna is non-different, his name is non-different from his form, his qualities and his pastimes. So we can see the beautiful, the Panchatattva there, or we can see the beautiful Radha Govinda, or all the beautiful forms of Krishna and Radha, so they're non-different from the name of Krishna. So we keep on saying the names of Krishna, and this is what's purifying us. So every day, 2 hours if you can make it, as much as you can, keep on chanting Krishna's name for 50 years, 100 years, as long as you can, for many lifetimes. Hare Krishna. Keep on chanting, because that first verse, chaito-darpana marjanam, is clearing out everything from millions of lifetimes, all the impressions that have been there for many, many lifetimes. Okay, is there any, I've got over time, is there any, thank you. Is there any questions anyone wants to just maybe a quick summarizing comment or? Okay, so we'll finish with some chanting. We have the Maha Mantra. You can see the Maha Mantra there. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Thank you for joining us online as well. Okay, well maybe we'll stay online for a little bit longer. And I want everyone to respond. And Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Śrimad-Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande. So, Namo Vishnu-Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimari Sasrup Das Goswami Nitinamane. Namo Vishnu-Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimari Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vicharini Nirvishesha Shanivani Pasyatade Shatare. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Jai Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Does everybody know the Namaste prayers? So you can repeat after me. Namaste Narasringaya. Namaste Narasringaya. Yato, yato, yamitato, nishrinho. Bahiḥ nishrinho, vidaye nishrinho. Narashrinam agnim sharanam prapade. Bhagavan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. So now we're going to do a kind of a packed prasadam, see, so that you can take home with you, or you can take home with you, and Jai Hare Krishna.